countryside.
Yeah.
But for me, when I arrived in Korea, Jeonju was the biggest city I'd ever lived in.
Really?
Yeah, where I'm from in the UK, population 90,000 maybe, and it's near Liverpool, because Liverpool and Jeonju have a similar population, like about 500,000, 600,000. And I'd never seen such big apartment blocks, and I'd never seen so many cars and just people everywhere. And I remember I was so excited that my apartment was on the 10th floor. You know, we just don't have high-rise apartments in the UK.
Right.
And I called up my mother. I was like, I'm living on the 10th floor. It's amazing. There's an elevator and everything. I still called it a lift then.
Yeah, well, of course, yes. There's a lift in everything. British English, it's a lift.
A lift.
In American and Korean, I guess it's elevator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were amazed that you got to ride the lift to go up to your apartment, huh? Very cool. And your city what's the name of your city?
Where I'm from it's called Southport.
Southport. And how far is that from Liverpool?
Maybe 30, 40 minutes by driving or even by train.
So when you were a kid, once every 2-3 months, the parents would take you to the big city to go shopping and stuff like that, right?
I had a really interesting childhood, and I didn't live in Southport until I was about 11.
Okay.
And before that, because of my father's job, we moved around a lot, but we always lived in the suburbs, and we lived in quite small places.
Okay.
And when I say moved around, I mean I was born in Canada, and I have dual citizenship.
Okay.
I was born near Vancouver, and then we lived in Israel, South Africa, Australia, and Ireland, but never in kind of very big cities. So, yeah.
Wow. So you're speaking a lot of English.
Yes, a lot of English.
You went from English-speaking country to English-speaking country, English,
yeah.
but about as far away as you can get with English-speaking country.
Pretty
Canada.
much. Israel,
South
Africa, Australia. Yeah.
What did your father do?
He was an aircraft tool designer. And so if you want to build a Boeing 747 or a helicopter, you would turn to my father and say, what tools do I need? And he'd say, okay, well, you need this for the wing and this for the tail. And he would design them, send them off, and they'd build the tools so they could build aircrafts.
And so you ended up in small towns because that's where the factories always ended up being?
Yeah. Well, it was where where they were designing and where they were making, and so the offices were obviously in places big enough to build a plane. And so pretty much out in the suburbs.
Yeah. Okay. So 11, you go to Southport.
When I was about 11, because in the UK, age 11 is when we start secondary school, and it's kind of maybe 4th, 5th grade of elementary school, and it goes all the way up to 16. And so we think of this as high school, although we're 11 when we start. And so my mother said, I want you to go to secondary school in the UK.
One place.
Yeah.
No moving.
No moving.
You're staying at one school the whole time. Okay.
Yeah. One school, get a good British education, go to a good university, get a good job, marry a nice British man, and settle down.
So she thought. Right.
Yes.
Right.
It was all going according to plan until 21.
Until 21, and then it all changed.
Yeah.
So you get to Southport and go to school, and then did you end up going to university in a big city?
No, my university, it was a new university in the UK, Warwick. And it's very beautiful, but it's actually a campus university.
Right.
It was built in the 70s. And unlike a lot of other universities, which are in a city, you know, if you go to Oxford, it's in Oxford.
Sure.
Warwick is out in kind of the countryside.
Right.
It was a purpose-built campus, and it's got its own supermarket, its own halls of residence, dormitories, laundrette, bank, supermarket, restaurants. It was like a mini village.
Yeah, we have a lot of those in the States. We just call them university towns. Like, essentially all there is... There's
a university.
Big university, and then the town builds up around the university.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to a university town.
I went to a university town, and so even then I didn't live in a very big place. I lived again First year, I lived in dormitory in the university.
It must have been a great experience.
It was lovely,
Yeah.
really lovely. It was nice being out in the countryside and just students, and I enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah, that sounds. I always wished I had gone to a college town. I kind of wanted to go to one. It was San Luis Obispo, but they didn't have my major. Anyway, very cool. So then you graduated. You're kind of figuring living in Southport.
Yeah, I had to move back home with
Back
my
to
parents.
home, living with mom. Your parents, was your dad there?
Yeah, my dad was there. My parents are
Did he
quite...
change his career or something? How did he manage to stay in Southport all those years?
Well, he managed to get a job in Manchester, which of course all Koreans know. Manyu, go Pakisong. He got a job in Manchester, again working for an aircraft company. I think it was Boeing. And I think he just managed to keep his job there until he retired. And my parents are quite old. They had me quite late. And so I think maybe only a few years after I finished university, I was maybe 24, 25, he retired.
Okay.
So both my parents are retired now. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And still living in Southport?
No, they moved because I have an older brother, an older sister, and they live and work near London.
Okay.
And when I went to Korea, my mother kind of thought, well, there's nothing
What are we staying
for
in Southport
us.
for
Yeah,
now? Yeah.
why are we here?
Yeah.
And so they sold their house and they moved south. And they live an hour from London now.
Okay.
And again, another small town.
Yeah.
My parents don't like big cities.
Yeah, they like
at
the
all.
small towns, but I mean, when you're half an hour from the big city,
It's nothing.
you're practically in the big city, and that's the advantage of suburbs, right? Okay, so then you end up coming to Korea.
Yeah.
And as an English teacher, I assume. Okay. Your experience in ancient civilizations well prepared you for this, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And how was that?
Well, it was a big shock. I think I arrived and I didn't really do much on my first day. They let me look around the school, it was a nice school. It was newly built. The director, the 원장님, he was, he was more of a businessman, and he'd built this brand new school, and this was going to be the big success for him. And the very next day, they said, one of our teachers is sick. You must teach. And I said, when? Now?
Yeah.
So, they just kind of gave me a book. I'm sure so many people have had this experience. They gave me a book, just kind of pushed me into a classroom, and I felt,
Yes.
like a deer
Yes.
in front of headlights, all these little faces looking at me.
Yes.
And I had no idea. I think I tried to teach for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then my mind was just blank. And so we ended up playing hangman.